27 years. 27 years. For 27 years, the family of
27 years for a considerable length of time, the group of Tupac Shakur has been hanging tight for equity. We are here today to declare the capture of 60-year-old Dwayne Keith Davis, also known as Key D, for the homicide of Tupac Shakur. On September 29, 2023, Dwayne Keith Davis, moniker Keffe, D, was arrested by Las Vegas Metropolitan Police regarding the homicide of ARG Ubley, the most persuasive rapper in Hit Bounce's set of experiences for most Tupac's homicide, is covered in secret anyway for the individuals who intently follow news in the hip jump world. Heedy's association in the rapper's demise was a loosely held bit of information with the rationale behind the hit being gotten on camera. So who is Key D? What was his job in Tupac's demise? And for what reason did it require 27 years for the previous hoodlum to at long last wind up in cuffs? Tupac's executioner captured "I wish that my child was here, and afterward he could go and rest in my bed and emerge from my room and say, Mama, what you cook, I miss his being, he was my child. And I miss him as my child, my kid, who I cherished." Regarded this was Annie Shakur, Tupac's mother, nearly brought to tears by the demise of her child. She would have wanted to finally accept reality in regards to her child's grievous passing. Anyway, Miss Afeni Shakur died on May 2, 2016, in the wake of going into heart failure at her home at 69 years old. And as we will see, just a short time after her demise, the case in regards to her child's demise would be opened again, prompting a capture, while Tupac's mother trusted that the police will get equity for her killed child for a considerable length of time. The rapper's fans needed to hang tight for a considerable length of time. Well, the standby is at long last over following 27 horrifying years. One of the men accepted to have taken part in the homicide of Tupac was captured. Las Vegas Metro Police arrested Dwayne Key D. Davis. Friday, he's being hung on charges connected with the 1996 homicide of rapper Tupac Shakur. Prior in July, cops struck Key D's home in Henderson, Nevada, and oath recorded to get the warrant expresses that police were searching for notes, works records, and other transcribed or type reports concerning TV programs, narratives, YouTube episodes, book original copies, and films concerning the homicide of Tupac Shakur. Separated from the gadget specialists, left a previous criminal's home with USB and hard drives, photos, a duplicate of Energy magazine highlighting Tupac, and a duplicate of the Compton Road Legends book, co-created by Key D and Yusuf J. As per the warrant, examiners were by and large looking for things that would give proof of intention or even uncover the character of Tupac's executioners. So what precisely offered Keffe D? How could he be ready to sidestep the police for quite a long time? And will he at last be put in the slammer for Tupac's homicide? It just so happens. Incidentally, Keffe D felt encouraged to yell from the housetops. What happened the night Tupac kicked the bucket everything began in 2008, when Keffe D was captured in a PCP ring case. As per reports, the federal authorities had been social event proof on the medication ring that Keefe ran, and had enough intel to take care of him for a very long time, as police regularly do. They captivated Keffe D to let them know happened the night Tupac shot dead. And we put an ironclad body of evidence against him, approach him, and say, here's the arrangement, K. We have inquiries regarding these killings. On the off chance that you don't collaborate, you're going to jail until the end of your life, as are a few individuals from your family who are up to speed in your medication association. Well, every individual who was involved had long kicked the bucket, remembering the shooter, and with the additional inspiration for the table, you best accept. Key D sang like a bird for 3 straight hours. He admits to his association in the homicide of Tupac Shakur in Las Vegas in 1996. He lets us know that his nephew Orlando Anderson was in a similar vehicle with him, which was the white Cadillac, after truth telling on his nephew. The medication body of evidence against Keffe D was dropped, and he left a liberated individual for some individuals. This would have been another opportunity at life, an opportunity to begin once again over again. Anyway, a couple of years after the fact, in 2011, ex-cop Greg Kading distributed the book Murder Rap, which featured Keefe's admission. Exhaustively, Greg Kading is a writer and previous Los Angeles Police Office criminal investigator. He is most popular for dealing with a multi-policing force that researched the homicides of Tupac and Biggie Smalls. Separated from that, he was instrumental in getting Keffe to let the cat out of the bag on Tupac's homicide. Greg Kading's book sent shockwaves across the hip-jump world, as it ensnared a portion of the business' greatest names. The most striking name in the book, as we will see later, was none other Sean Combs' moniker P. Diddy with the book, and thusly Keede's story, holding crowds the country over and the world. The ex-hoodlum became desirous to him. This was his story. He merited a slice of the pie for having told the world what befell their dearest craftsman. To add salt to injury, in 2015, 4 years after the book was distributed, veered off a narrative. He probably felt envious that individuals were bringing in cash from what he considered his story, while he got his name ruined and his standing obliterated for breaking the road code and helping out the federal authorities. The police were making bank, as per Greg Kading. Keffe loathed the way that another person other than him was recounting the world, the story, assuming you comprehend the inner self of PPD. He hated that another person was recounting to the story other than him. Well, PD concluded to do the unfathomable. He chose to freely begin truth-telling. And this was the start of the end for him. He showed up on various digital recordings, where he transparently gave the terrible subtleties that prompted the demise of Tupac. As per Greg Kading, his craving to need to possess the story and tell it himself drove him to freely talk about what occurred in 1996, assuming that you comprehend the self-image of Tad. He loathed that another person was recounting to the story other than him. Thus that situation provoked him to then go out and openly gloat about his inclusion. Keefe showed up on any digital broadcast or show that would have him, and he would rehash his entire daily schedule of uncovering the lamentable occasions that prompted Tupac's passing. So how could he do this cool as a cucumber? What provided Keefe with a misguided feeling of grandiosity? Well, it just so happens that separated from having a self-image, there were different variables that drove him to squeal on himself. Famous YouTuber DJ Vlad uncovered in a new meeting that one reason Keefe consented to show up on vladtv, a station with north of 5 million supporters, and offered the story was that he believed that he had resistance from indictment from the proffer understanding that he made with federal authorities in 2008. Well, I believe that he accepted that he had a degree of resistance when he did the proffer arrangement. It is critical to take note of that a proffer arrangement is an understanding between the federal authorities and a litigant that guarantees government lawyers won't utilize any assertions the respondent makes during an off-the-record interview against them in later procedures. Keefe ought to have addressed his lawyer prior to making a beeline for interviews, believing that he had insusceptibility, while Keefe's words to the federal authorities in 2008 can't be utilized against him. What he didn't know was that whatever he said external, the meeting room was fair game and would be utilized to indict him in a meeting. Greg Kading talked about the proffer arrangement between Keefe and the Fade, saying the proffer understanding basically said that when you plump down and converse with us, anything you say that is self-implicating we won't use against you yet. When he leaves that room, that understanding doesn't make a difference to all the other things in his day-to-day existence, as he wrongly accepted, so he started to go out and flaunt about his inclusion in the homicide. Absolutely no part of that is safeguarded. Under the arrangement, he has basically talked himself directly into prison. Separated from that, DJ Vlad unveiled that another explanation that provided KD with a misguided feeling of certainty was that he had been determined to have malignant growth and he realized that he didn't have long to reside additionally. So I think at the time he was saying that he had malignant growth, so perhaps he didn't think he had a lot of chance to reside, so he was only sort of setting it free. By then so sure was Keefe that in 2019 he distributed his diary named Compton Road Legend, where he gave more subtleties to claims he had recently let the federal authorities know. What the ex-hoodlum neglected is that the federal authorities are continuously watching webcasts, trusting that lawbreakers, for example, himself, will implicate themselves. Yet it was only after 2018 that this case was revived as extra data became visible connected with this murder. Explicitly, Dwayne Davis' own admissions to his inclusion in this murder examination that he gave to various news sources. Another inquiry you might be posing is whether Keffe will really wind up in prison. Recall, in his admission to the federal authorities in 2008, as well as his affirmations in meetings, all highlight his nephew as the shooter, while helping with a wagering in Nevada, is the point at which you go about as an associate in a wrong